It's the ultimate headphone battle. The brilliant Sony XM4s versus the expensive Apple AirPods Max. But which is better? Welcome back to Mark Ellis Reviews, and thank you as always for subscribing. If you haven't subscribed, just hit the button. Simple. I've reviewed both the Sony XM4s, they've got a longer name than that, I won't go into it, and the Apple AirPods Max pretty extensively on this channel, but I've not properly compared the two until now. Now, I've made no secret about my love for the Sonys. They're still my favourite ever pair of headphones. That's a bit of a spoiler. But equally, I was very impressed with the AirPods Max, which immediately out of the box do sound better than the Sony XM4s. But as I've discovered over the last couple of months of using both these headphones on a daily basis, there's quite a bit more to the comparison than just sound. Price, this one's really simple. The AirPods Max are really expensive. They're $549, 549 UK pounds, versus the Sony XM4s, which you can get them for about $250 if you look hard enough. Retail, they were $359 or $350-ish, I think. Yeah, you're talking $200 extra for the AirPods Max. Now that's a lot of money, and there's absolutely no contest between the two unless you just want a pair of AirPods Max. And as I explained in my review for them, that's absolutely fine. That's a good enough reason to want them and to actually buy them. The other reason you can say that the AirPods Max possibly justify a higher price is the build quality. And the build quality is far superior to the Sony XM4s. Don't get me wrong, the XM4s are well built, but these are on another level. You have to hold them, you have to put them on your head, you have to feel the construction to appreciate how premium they are. But if we're purely going on price, the Sony win, hands down. Comfort is a really subjective thing, and everyone takes to headphones differently. I think both of these headphones are very comfortable. That said, some people have complained about the Sony XM4s creaking when they have them on their head. I know that's not a comfort thing, but it is comfort in terms of an annoyance. I haven't experienced that. There's a bit of a creak. If you move your head around, you can occasionally hear it, but it's never bothered me at all, really. I mean, by comparison, the AirPods Max are silent when they're on your head. You can turn your head and shake it and you don't hear anything from the actual casing at all. The one thing I do prefer with the AirPods Max is a couple of things. Firstly, it's this top, what they call a canopy, which goes above your head. And the other thing are the cups, which are removable. That's pretty cool. I just find these to be more comfortable over the ear than the Sony XM4s. They're very different in terms of build or construction. So these are kind of like a fabric type finish, whereas the XM4s, I don't know if it's leather. I think it might be leather. It's something like that anyway. It's just a different type of material. And these, I think as well, just fits more snugly around your ear and just feel more comfortable. I also like how these sit on my head. Having no hair, certain headphones don't look great when I put them on. These, because of their thinner profile, for me personally, I'm looking at myself in the monitor now, they just look, they're the best looking pair of headphones on my head. That may not be of use to you, but if you've got a similar head to me, it might help. By comparison, the XM4s, they're not huge, but they do stick out a bit more. I'm less of a fan of that, really. If you're going to be listening to headphones for a long time, for long periods throughout the day, the AirPods Max do win that particular round. When it comes to sound, both of these headphones sound amazing. So basically, if you haven't heard one pair of them, the pair that you have, the pair that you've bought, you won't feel like you're missing out on anything. Pretty much all of the headphones that I have, I just use them out of the box. I don't get involved in EQing them. I've never done that. I've always wanted to use headphones as the manufacturers intended them. For two reasons, really. One, I just can't be bothered to EQ them. Secondly, I want to hear what the manufacturer thinks we should hear, because it gives me a much better base to compare from. With that in mind, the biggest difference between the two, I think, is that the AirPods Max sound brighter than the Sony XM4s. There's more detail, it's a wider soundstage as well, so it just feels more airy, and there's great separation between left and right. But they both have really good dynamic range as well. So everything from the bass to the high frequency stuff is completely well catered for, I think personally. I favour sound profiles that have got a little bit of a boost at the bottom end, have a bit of a dip in the middle, and a little bit of a boost on the highs. That's quite a common sound profile for consumer headphones, and both of these nail that, but the AirPods Max do audibly sound better. If you do a very quick A/B test on pretty much any track, the AirPods Max just sound brighter. They just sound like a better pair of headphones. So in terms of the winner for this one, it's tough because the Sony XM4s sound absolutely superb, but the AirPods Max just pip it in terms of the quality, and it is noticeable. The more I've used noise cancelling headphones, the more I've realised, I've mentioned this before, that there is a ceiling for noise cancelling insofar as you don't need any more of it, if that makes sense. And I've A/B tested both of these, both the AirPods Max and the Sonys, and I can't really notice a difference. The AirPods Max are possibly dampen the ambient noise a little bit more than the Sony's, but it's negligible, to be honest. They're both really good in terms of noise cancellation. Where the AirPods Max score a little more highly than the Sony's is with a feature called transparency mode. And transparency mode basically means you press a button and it filters in the outside noise, which is useful if you're talking to someone, or if you're on a call and you want to hear your own voice, or if you're just walking around the streets and you want to be aware of your surroundings a bit more. And the way it does that, it just filters them in via one of the mics, and it's just great. You can hear everything around you. The Sony's do have a similar feature. They have one where you can put your hand over one of the cups and it will then filter in, basically turn off noise cancellation and filter in the outside world. I don't like that. It's not as effective, I don't think, as the AirPods Max. So when it comes to noise cancellation and that whole part of this package, the AirPods Max just beat the Sony's because of that transparency mode, which honestly is so useful. Charging, right, I'll try not to get too angry at this point because you've all heard it before, it's quite boring, but I love USB-C. Everything on this desk pretty much is USB-C chargeable. Literally everything from the batteries that I use for this camera, to my MacBook, to my iPad, to the Android phone I'm testing at the moment. Most of the headphones pretty much, in fact all of the headphones charge via USB-C. There are two devices on this desk that don't charge via USB-C. One of them is the iPhone 12 Pro, and the other one is the AirPods Max. They both use Lightning. And for me, Lightning just feels ancient. It's always been the charging method for iPhones for as long as I can remember. The fact that the AirPods Max don't use USB-C was a real bummer for me. Because you have so much stuff these days that charges via USB-C, you've always got a USB-C cable somewhere on your desk. So charging things is just a case of pulling it out of one device, plugging it into the headphones or whatever it might be, and away you go. It's just super convenient. Lightning, because Apple obviously have introduced the MagSafe charging for this, which is the only way I charge the iPhone these days. I don't really have a Lightning cable knocking around. I have to go into my cable drawer, pull it out, plug it into a USB port. It's just a pain. I don't understand it when every other pair of headphones that the AirPods Max are competing against use USB-C. Apple are just so steadfast with this. They're blinkered. It annoys me. And that is an issue between the two pairs. And if charging convenience is a big thing for you, I would just say get the Sony's straight away. Don't bother with the AirPods Max. The other thing where I think the AirPods Max falls down is that you can't easily find out how much battery is left. I know you can ask Siri, I know you can look on your iPhone, but with the Sony XM4s, you just press a button and this friendly voice says to you, you have 80% battery remaining. It's so simple, and it's such an important part of headphones. In terms of actual battery life, they're very, very similar. I've always said this, that I think once you go beyond 20 hours battery life for a pair of headphones, that's great. I'm happy with that. They can go up to 100 hours if they want. I don't mind. 20 hours is a great benchmark. So they both beat that comfortably, no problem at all. But in real world usage, and as you know, I don't do proper benchmarks and proper laborious testing on this channel. I just base it on real world experience. I must admit, the Sony XM4s feel like they last longer. And I think there's one clear reason for that, and it's the fact that you can turn them off. You can't turn off the AirPods Max, and there's lots of debate over what the AirPods Max do when you put them in their stupid case in terms of going to like a low power mode. In reality, what that kind of manifests itself in is less standby time. These stand by for ages. I could put these on the headphone stand behind me with, let's say, 90% charge, leave them for a few days, come back to them, and they'll still have 90% charge because I've turned them off. That makes, again, a massive difference with headphones. You want convenience. You want to pick them up and use them straight away. So ease of charging, I think slightly better battery life purely because you can turn them off. The Sony XM4s win this particular round when it comes to battery life and convenience. Very quick one on the case. We've all kind of talked about this ad nauseum. The AirPods Max case is ridiculous. I won't hear anything else, I'm afraid. And unless you've got a really good argument for this, go ahead in the comments. It's just terrible. It's flimsy. I would never put this in my backpack. It's just useless, really. And that said, I have been using it as intended, so when I've finished using the headphones, I put them in here. But I only do that because I have to do that, because putting them into this case puts them into that low power state. The Sony XM4s, by comparison, have a brilliant hard case, and it's one of the best I've found, to be honest, in terms of headphones. Very easy to put them into it. It's very tough. I have no problems at all about chucking it into my bag or chucking it anywhere, really. It's just very tough. It's got some little compartments inside for cables and things. And while I'm on the subject of cables, the Sony XM4s come with a auxiliary cable, so you can plug them into your amp or into whatever you need to, into your phone if you've still got a headphone jack. As you probably know, the AirPods Max don't come with any form of auxiliary cable, and if you want one, you have to spend $35, £35 on it. This is that cable. This is the worst Apple product I have ever purchased. I can't get this across in the video. It's so flimsy. I paid £35 for this in the UK. Honestly, this is daylight robbery, Apple, and it just bothers me that they're charging that much for this. I know it's not just a cable. I know it has some wizardry going on in there. I've bought third-party headphone cables and all sorts of things, which are really rugged, and they're probably £6-7. It's nothing. This is terrible, Apple. It's embarrassing how bad this is. So the case and the cable thing, the winner, 100%. Sony XM4s. Call quality, I know this is a very big thing for people. I don't personally use either of these headphones really for calls. I occasionally use the AirPods Max, but not very often. But if you are looking at the Sony XM4s, I've had limited experience with this, but I've seen far too many comments in my previous videos that talk about poor call quality. And the biggest problem, from what I am told, is that people struggle to hear others who are wearing these on calls. They're just not very good, apparently. So if you want to use a pair of over-the-ear noise-cancelling headphones for calls, the Sony XM4s, unfortunately, probably aren't going to be good enough, which is such a shame because they're good at everything else. The AirPods Max, by comparison, are brilliant for calls. Like I said, I don't really use them for calls, but I wouldn't hesitate to do it as I would do with these. And again, it comes down to that transparency mode. Basically, you press that little button there, it turns on transparency mode, and you can hear yourself talk. And I've had no complaints about it being unable to hear me, so the winner in that regard is definitely the AirPods Max. So in conclusion, I appreciate this isn't really comparing apples for apples, if you excuse the terrible pun, because the price range is just so different. We're looking at $200, £200 extra for the Apple AirPods Max. So comparing them is a bit tricky because I do think the vast majority of people will just get the Sonys because they're cheaper and they're brilliant. And if that's the case, you've made the right decision. However, if you're stuck between the two and you love Apple stuff and you've got that money to spend, you won't be disappointed with the AirPods Max. You won't buy these and then regret buying them because you should have bought the Sony XM4s. And the simple reason for that is unless you own the XM4s, in which case you wouldn't be making this decision, or unless you've heard them regularly, you won't know what, if anything, you're missing out on. And as I mentioned before, the build quality, the sound quality, noise cancellation, the transparency mode, you're getting, I think, quite a lot for your money. They are expensive, they're a bit overpriced, but this is Apple, remember. If you're the sort of person who loves Apple stuff, you won't regret it. And yeah, if you simply can't understand why the AirPods Max are so expensive and you hate the fact they're too expensive, get the Sonys. Simple, job done. What would I do? Well, you're probably sitting there thinking I would buy the AirPods Max. I wouldn't. I'd still go for the Sony XM4s. 1, because of price. 2, because they sound fantastic. 3, because I don't worry about the call side of things. I don't use these for calls. When it comes to value, the fact that the AirPods Max are now on the market, it makes the value offered, the return on investment, if you like, by these kind of headphones, all the greater. Regardless, they are both brilliant pairs of headphones. They're my favourite pairs of headphones I've used so far this year. The night is young, obviously. And whichever one you choose, you will not be disappointed. However, if you want to spend a bit less on your active noise cancelling headphones, keep watching for a video that I did recently that compares a few brands, including Sony, actually a cheaper pair of Sony noise cancelling headphones and a few others. In the meantime, thank you as always for watching, and I'll catch you next time.